Good afternoon, everybody. We will call the Zion Cemetery Preservation and Maintenance Society board meeting to order for the month of June. Today is June 17th. It's 4:33 p.m. And in addition to myself, Leroy Moore, and Pastor Presley, is anyone else present?
Yes, we actually have Ms. Burden, Ms. Iman, and we also have Lisa Grizzle from the city of Tampa joining. But by my count, we have 5 board members. So we actually have a quorum.
We do have a quorum. Okay, good.
So did you catch
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Pardon me?
Sorry, go ahead. You want us to do roll call just so that we got it official?
That's a good idea.
Okay. Amrita?
Fred Hearns,
Here?
Leroy Moore,
Here?
Riva Ayman,
Here.
Clark Simmons, Brian Presley,
It's Reverend Byron. This is Byron Presley. I'm here.
Reverend Brian Presley, my apologies. Yvette Lewis,
That's okay.
Connie Burton,
Here.
Dennis Creech, Richard Gunsmart, and I believe Lisa Grizzle's representing the office.
The city. Correct. Okay. So we do have 5 board members present.
Okay, that gives us a quorum. That's good news. Shall we move to approval of minutes for the May meeting?
Yes, and on the agenda, we actually have approval for both the April 2021 meeting as well as the May 2021 meeting. And all the minutes have previously been circulated to board members. We did have some corrections from the April 2021 minutes that has been made, specifically spelling corrections with both Fred Hearns as well as Mr. Reverend Presley, and a few other cleanup items that were corrected and sent back. So we're ready for a motion to adopt the minutes.
I move to.
Okay. Go ahead, Reva.
I move to approve the minutes. And I'll second it. Reverend Presley second to approve the minutes with all the corrections that have been made.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we approve the board meeting minutes for the month of April and for the month of May with noted corrections made. It's been moved and second. All those in favor,
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so thank you. So we have approved minutes for April and from May. I believe approval of agenda would be the next item. Am I correct, Mr. Moore?
Yes, and I'll go over the agenda. And Amrita, if you could share it, that would be real good. If you could share the agenda real quick. But our agenda item for new business include item number 1 is vacancies on the board and nominations. We're just going to have a discussion on that process again. Agenda item 2 is update on site acquisitions by the our president. And number 3, review of the final Robles Park Village Master Plan and Zion options, which I will do. And item 4 is Robles Park Village Community Celebration, just an announcement there. And item 5 is an update on the State Task Force on Lost Cemeteries press conference that was held earlier today. So Amrita's actually sharing the agenda as we speak. You can see those are the 5 items. We can start with item number 1, vacancies on the board and the nomination process. We do have 2 vacancies still on our board. Those are the 2 descendants of Zion. We spoke a bit last month about the process of fielding nominations for those 2 seats. We also created an application form that we disseminated to all the board members and discussed at last board meeting. If you know of anyone that's interested and that can prove their lineage back to Zion, feel free to ask them, if they're willing to serve. And if so, have them complete an application form, and you can bring it to any future board meeting, and we can actually take action on adding those 2 members to our board. But those are the only 2 vacant positions we have at the present time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moore. Did everyone get your copy of the expression of interest forms that Mr. Moore referenced? Everyone has these? If not, would you let us know? And we'll make sure that you get them. I have spoken to 2 descendants who have ancestors buried at Zion, who both expressed interest in joining the board. I'm encouraging other board members, if you know of any, if you have any contact with any of those persons, please do the same. And as Mr. Moore said, if they do have an interest, get them to fill out the form. It's very simple: their name, phone number, address, email, and just a few words of why they would like to be a part of this board. Anyone have anyone they've spoken to or have any questions about how we're going to proceed here? Okay, so it is my plan at the next meeting to present those 2 persons who I've spoken with their forms, expression of interest. We can discuss those and take a vote as to whether or not those persons meet the criteria. Any other comments on vacancies and nominations for board members, empty board seats?
I would just like to ask ways in which this is being advertised. Are you putting it out in, say, the African newspaper? Have anybody gone to any of the local radio, maybe WTMP, to put forth the interest of seeking out any descendants of that for the Zion Cemetery?
Okay, and that sounds like a good idea to me, because there could be people out there that board members aren't aware of, family members. What's the feeling of the rest of the board?
I think that's a great idea. I would, I'll go as much as, unless someone else wants to do it, I would reach out to the Florida Sentinel in particular and talk to them about the vacancies that we've gotten and that we're seeking, nominations. Hopefully they can do a story on it. I think that would be the best thing. We don't really have any funds to pay for ads per se, but if anyone got any other contacts that could maybe either generate a story that could be ran, or newspaper, I'm sorry, internet radio, internet, Facebook, shows, that kind of stuff. Feel free to circulate that information, make that known that we are seeking descendants to join the board. We need to. That was a great idea.
I can
Maybe the best. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I can definitely reach out to, know that on Saturdays and different days that be at WTMP out there in the community that reaches out to the African American community. I have them to mention this process and what we're looking for as a board. Ms. Diane Hart.
Yeah, I
would be
was
a
just
great-
going to suggest maybe, yeah, Representative Hart, and there's several people who have talk shows on WTMP on Saturday. Maybe the best way to do this is to come up with a public service announcement, something brief, so that we all have the same information, so we're saying the same thing, and then just email it out to us and get it to the Florida Sentinel and the talk show hosts on WTMP. And that's the way I think maybe we could proceed.
Yeah, there's a few.
Any comments or thoughts about that?
Diane Hart, Michelle Patty, the two that I really know. I do know Connie sometimes on there as well, periodically. But those two, Michelle Patty and Diane Hart, are definitely on there a lot. So I will definitely, if someone can reach out to them, I know Mr. Moore do have their information. Our youth read and let them know what we're trying to do. I'm sure they would definitely do it.
Okay. So, Connie,
So-
would it make sense if we did a press release or a public service announcement, something brief, so everybody's saying the same thing?
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree. And I'm not nominating myself to be that person, but I just think to make sure we just get the information out to the community and people don't feel like they wasn't, aware. But I do agree, messaging is important, and the same message would definitely be helpful.
Yeah, so I'll volunteer someone. I'll volunteer Lillian Stringer, who's she knows how to do press releases, and she also has a big distribution list. So I'll have her draft a press release, and then I'll send it to all the board members, and also let you all know who we sent it to in terms of the media outlets and Diane Hart, people in the community that can help spread the word. And maybe we give it a deadline if you want to be able to consider folks for next board meeting. How does everybody feel about, if we get it out tomorrow, put maybe a 3-week deadline on it. That way we can actually have, applications in before the board meeting. I can send them out to all the board members, and we can then be ready to vote at the next board meeting. Does anybody not feel okay with that? Okay, so I'll do that, and I will set.
I feel okay with it.
Okay, and I'll
Leroy,
set.
one thing on the application, it doesn't have an email address to return the form to or to contact. It's got the Housing Authority website, Skype, and LinkedIn, and a phone number. But should we add an email address since we want people to email this to us, or how are they going to get it back to us, I guess, what I'm asking.
Yeah, I can, let's see, we don't have a Zion email. That's the website. That's the Zion portion of the website that is linking people to there.
Right.
So, yeah, I'll put Amrita's email address maybe.
I was going to say, or we can just create an email address for this purposes and just have, I guess, the secretary and the president, to be the ones to monitor that email. And then we'll always have one. So you'll have the website and an email address for us.
Okay, so maybe a
I don't mean to
Gmail or.
put more duties on the people, but that would be the easiest way.
That's a cleaner way too. I like that. So maybe we do a Zion Cemetery email address at Gmail or Yahoo.
Yeah,
Gmail?
either or. Yeah, Gmail is well known. Yeah.
All right, we'll do it at Gmail. And we'll put that on the actual application form.
Okay.
And that'll be our official way of getting these applications back. Cool. All right, and I'll have that, due a week before our next meeting, and we'll try to get it out tomorrow.
Okay.
So the
Cool.
deadline would be July, what date in July?
Let's see, our meeting in July is the third Thursday, which is the 15th. Yes. So the due date would be the 9th. I'm sorry, the 8th. July 8th. So if we get out tomorrow, it's
Okay, how do y'all feel about that date? Is that enough time?
Yep, so everybody's giving thumbs up.
Okay. July 8th, okay.
Cool.
Okay, thank you. So, I believe we should have taken any public comment. I know in the past that's been early on in the agenda. So public comment? Anyone?
If anyone has public comment, you can unmute yourself now and state your piece. I don't see any.
Okay. Okay, we've talked about the vacancies on the board.
Update on site acquisitions. is
Yeah,
number 2.
site acquisition, exactly. I thought we had a very good meeting with Mr. Crease a week or so ago. I was present, Leroy Moore, Reva Iman, and I think Reverend Presley.
Yes.
And was anyone else present during that discussion? No. And of course, Mr. Crease has a seat on the board. He or someone that he would designate from his company. And of course, we're talking about the property that we are interested in, which is part of the Zion site on the east side of Florida Avenue, where he parks vehicles. And he's not married to that site, but he does want something, as he expressed to us, that's close to his office, which is on the west side of Florida Avenue. And but it doesn't have to be that close, as long as it's in the general area. He did give us some boundaries, which are sort of broad, but so those of you who were in on that meeting, please make your comments and your observations as to what you took from that meeting.
Yeah, we also talked to him about the fact that his 2 parcels, he's got one parcel that is cemetery, and we expressed to him that we would not be in a position to compensate him on that. We would expect that that would be a donation from him to our entity once we are 501c3, or a donation in exchange for a contribution letter for the appraised value of that land. But that we would be interested, provided we're able to find the dollars through grant sources, would be able to, would like to pursue acquiring the rest of that land from him. He's got the portion that's in front of what is the cemetery. And I think everybody knows the land parcels we're talking about now. So, with Dennis Crease, the opportunity that exists is for us to buy the clean land from him, which is a really small piece, and then an even smaller piece for him to actually donate in exchange for a contribution letter. He also expressed that he would also be interested in a land swap as well. If indeed we can, through any of our contacts, locate some land that would be suitable for him to continue with his business. So he's open to a variety of ways of us acquiring his land. He just needs something in exchange for it so that he could continue his business.
Thank you, Leroy. Observations from anyone else? Or questions? Leroy, do you know if he has gotten an appraisal for his property that we're interested in?
No, I'm not aware if he has or not.
I think we hopefully we can get him to attend future meetings. He didn't seem like he was not in agreement with that, and he did not identify anyone else to stand in for him. So we will be dealing hopefully directly with him. And I think his attitude is the kind of attitude that we can work with.
Yes, I agree.
As long as it makes sense for him. And he is a businessman, so he's got a business to run. He needs land on which to park those vehicles in the vicinity of where he is now. So, but I think he seems to be flexible,
I agree.
and that's a good thing. Any other comments from anyone with the meeting with Mr. Crease? We also met with the attorney for Richard Gunsmart. And who was present on that call?
I think it was you, myself, and Reva. I don't think Reverend Presley was able to make that one.
Okay. So, and of course, he cannot speak for Richard Gunsmart unless Richard gives him permission to do so, but he's aware there is a board seat specified for them as one of the property owners. Reva was able to share a lot of information with us, being involved in the property. And Reva, if you can tell us what he's done with the culinary school, with locating it in the building on Central Avenue, and comments, Reva, kind of help us with that, because that was his original plan for the property that is now part of Zion. So he changed the location for that school.
Yeah, I was with him when he originally, I wouldn't say purchased it, but when he got the land, I was one of the ones that walked through both buildings with him and his staff. And he made it known what he was trying to do with the community, because it's going to be built as a culinary school plus a kitchen to serve people while they're eating there, and a bakery. I was supposed to, the chef was supposed to come from New Orleans, if I'm not mistaken. And I was due to go up there just to see what they had up there going on. So he had a very big investment in the community that he was trying to help with the residents, because he wanted to train some of the residents and rovers to become cooks and bakery staffs and things of that nature. So what he have done is, since that has fallen down, he's invested in the building on Central that the Temple Heights Junior Civic Association. He has provided the kitchen equipment, and it's in there right now on a smaller scale to start that training as well in there. I was also with him when he provided that in the walkthrough and the uses of the area in that building, where everything was going, how it was put in, and I've actually went and seen it since it had been installed. He's invested in the community because he wants to give back in the community. So he still has plans, I assume, I'll be honest with you, of still giving back to the community, because I'm sure he wouldn't have put the kitchen there, a smaller scale of a kitchen in there already. And that building just recently, in last month, just got its occupancy license. So they're soon to be opening up. And I think he's going to be doing a little bit more investing there, because it's not only going to be a culinary school, there's going to be a zone training class in there, a bee farm, quite a few entities is going there for training. So, and I think on a larger scale, he's going to invest a little bit more besides the kitchen in helping the community in that building as well.
Okay, thank you, Reva. Anyone else have any comments?
No, just to add, I think,
The
I'm sorry, Fred. Yeah, just to add, I think, you know, this was Jeff, I forget his last name, the attorney that we met
Yeah, the
with
attorney.
on his behalf, did also express a very, very strong willingness to work with us on acquiring that site. You know, they expressed that they had also looked at some other land. You know, we also asked them, had they looked at the title policy? Because my attorney had advised us that, you know, these owners that have purchased this land in the last just few years, 7 years or so, that they would have purchased title insurance on it as well. And, you know, this definitely makes their title, you know, worthless practically. They should be able to get some compensation or recompensatory, you know, consideration from their title policy. And Jeff mentioned that they had indeed started looking at that, but they had not really seen that that was a feasible alternative for them, but that he would take a second look at it as well. But again, until we're able to identify some big grant dollars to be able to actually go to either of these owners and offer them a price that's certainly not more than what they paid for it, something less than that, but, you know, reach an agreement with being able to acquire this land. They both seem to be running their business as usual on the land. And I don't know how everybody feels about that, but, you know, I feel a certain way about that. But that's where we are until we can actually identify funds to, or other lands that we can help expedite getting them off of that land. I mean, it's cemetery land. We know that there's bodies still buried there. And I just think everybody's reaction should have been the same as ours, which is at whatever cost, let's, you know, get people off of that. And let's figure out how to, you know, get the buildings removed eventually.
Mm-hmm.
I want to just ask, I'm sorry, I should go to the chat. I just want to ask, what is the city, if they have any relationship with you, Mr. Moore, in trying to help, say, help business owners come to some type of moral understanding of the importance of them, you know, moving forward in, you know, being, you know, moving forward is city in any such way trying to help mediate this decision for us? Have the city talked about any type of compensation to assist? Is this just something that the housing authority and the business owners have to resolve?
Yeah, and let me, you know, my impression is that it's not I think both of these business owners are in the right moral mindset. I believe they do. They definitely show an understanding that this is a, you know, this is a situation that needs to be handled, you know, quickly. You know, it was wrong. It needs to be righted. I think both of them expressed that to us during these meetings. You know, we can only do so much though, all right? And, you know, I think both of these owners need to be looking too. We can't do everything for them. They need to be looking as well. What we're gonna be doing is looking at grants. That's the best way, I think, for us to be able to generate money to hopefully acquire this land from them. And that would be through the city, through the county, through the state, through the federal government. There's some money that's coming out fairly soon from the state. And, you know, Senator Rasan made us aware of it. There's, I think, $30 million available, you know, up to, I think, $500,000 to $1 million per application for, these restorative justice projects, things that right, historical systemic wrongs that's been, created in the Black community in particular. And so he's made me aware of that. I've got our grant writer looking at that. Revo sent the exact same information to me and said, hey, there's money available at the state. But again, that's us. And, we're doing it because we're charged with doing it. We're passionate about it, but it would get solved a lot easier if there was 3 of us doing it. I think the other 2 owners really got to get busy at trying to come up with creative ways of, finding somewhere else for their business to get conducted instead of on top of intact graves. It just doesn't, and it's been 2 years. So.
Right. And
I
I'm
hate to sound
not
that way.
aware of,
Go ahead, Fred, I'm sorry.
yeah, to Connie's question, I'm not aware of the city stepping forward and volunteering and saying, we'll help write grants to purchase this land. I haven't heard that. But we did hear from Mr. Gonsmart's attorney, and we knew this, that land was appraised at somewhere between 600, 700,000. At least that's what they paid for it. But as Mr. Moore just said, they have been using it for what, 3 years? I think they've been there about 3 years.
I thought it was like 6 or 7 years.
Okay, well, a lot longer than that then.
Yeah.
So we can ask, and I think we should ask the city, ask the mayor, because they've got a grant writing team also. If they can work with the housing authority and the other owner, if possible, to seek these funds, because these Richard Gonsmart is not going to just give his land away, and I can't say I blame him for that.
Yeah, and we would expect that.
So the city, I think, should help us look for a way for him to be compensated, and the same thing for Mr. Crease, if it's possible. If you want, I can ask that question in the appropriate manner of the city, of the mayor, because I think they know what we're faced with, but I haven't seen them come forward and volunteer to help procure those funds.
Fred,
That's what we're
if
right
I could
now.
just, excuse me, if I could just add into this, and no one is expecting, for them to walk away empty-handed, but I think we have to seize the moment in which we're living in right now, when we are talking about past disparities and things that have happened to, African people. I can only imagine that if this had been a Jewish cemetery, I can just imagine how compensation would have come so quickly from our entity to repair damage. And it is that type of urgency that I think the approach should be made. Compensation, yes, but the respect of our ancestors has to be taken on in the same respectful manner that the city and everybody know that every time they walk through their storefront, they're walking on dead African bodies. They're walking on the bodies of people. I don't care if their livelihood is attached to it. I think a lot is being said all across this country that we got to pay due deference to the fact that African people have lost much. And when it comes to our burial sites, there has to be a healthy respect, and that goes for the city as well as the business owners.
Other comments from other board members? Thank you, Connie. Other comments? Well, now that we have a formal board that the city attorney's office helped to legitimize us and get us organized, I would not have a problem at all putting in writing our request for what we've just said, that the city and the two owners, that all three owners of the property work together to seek grants or funding that can compensate them for the land that makes up Zion Cemetery. Does that make sense to anyone? To do such a letter? Because I don't want anyone to say that they assumed that we didn't need their input, or to assume that we didn't need their grant writing staff to do exactly what the Tampa Housing Authority staff is going to be doing. Shouldn't be doing it on its own. There are three property owners and the city of Tampa. So that's three other partners who we are going to be looking to help resolve these issues. The graves aren't going anywhere. So it's up to the property owners to take action. Okay, board members, speak up. Let me hear you. What do you think? I love writing letters if they're necessary.
Brother Hearns, everything that has been said today and thus far is correct. And I do totally agree with Sister Burton with the comment she made when it comes to the Jews and so forth and so on. But when it comes to our race, people tend to lag their feet. And due diligence is due to the bodies that still remains there in the Robles Park area. So I would agree that, yes, I'm for you or whomever it might be writing letters to the city, because it shouldn't just be this board or this committee trying to seek out land to the other two owners. They should do their part as well. And like I said, way back when, a year or two ago, we're all at fault, and we all just have to own up to our mistakes. And we're not trying to put one blame on one person, but we know we're at fault, and we just need to do what's right. And so I think a letter should be addressed to the city of Tampa and even to the other two businesses to say it shouldn't fall all on us to do it. That's just me.
Thank you, Reverend Presley. Anyone else have another comment on this topic?
I appreciate what y'all are saying, but I think that whether city, county, state, I think it needs to be a meeting of the minds with every individual. As for Tampa Housing Authority, Mr. Gunsmar, Priestley, the mayor. And I think in that meeting, something tangible need to come out and everybody put on the table what everybody's expecting, what everybody is looking for. And I think if you put all those things on the table, I do believe everybody can disagree to agree, but I think something better can come out of all of this. And I understand, and the first thing is writing that letter, Fred. You know, I just think things need to be put on the table, what we're asking for, what we're looking for, what they're looking for, what they're asking for, and then see how can everybody remedy that situation for the better of everyone, to make a tangible solution for the whole, for everyone. And I do believe that can happen, and I do believe something tangible can come out of that, you know. But I think it's just the head of the minds of everyone that's involved needs to come together and sit and talk together versus Tampa Housing Authority talking with this person, the mayor talking to this person, Mr. Gonspire talking to this person. Just get together, you know. Let's put it all on the table, and then let's see where we can go from there, or they can go from there. And I, just like I said, I truly believe greatness will come out of that. I'm not saying that the city or anybody or the state or the county don't want to do anything. They have done a little something, but what I'm saying is I believe that when all minds come together, everyone can work something out that's going to be equally fair for everyone. You know, like I said, I just think all the heads need to be in one room and let's talk it out, whether they have their attorney with them or not, and let's come to some type of solution. You know, what's disadvantage here, what's disadvantage here, so how can we take those disadvantage and make them advantage? Let's make everybody, you know, accountable for, you know, that's like no one is looking for other properties but you all to try to help everyone out. These are things that can be discussed within that meeting among the heads, and you know, what can we bring to the table, and what can they bring to the table, or what are they willing to bend a little bit to make things right. And I think if that is happening, and if that was to happen, I think it'll be an advantage to everyone, because then at that point everyone know what they have to work at and what they have to do to make it happen. Just like you say, a grant writer, the city may be willing to use their grant writer to try to get some funding to help research. But if all the top heads come together and bring these things to the forefront, and then everybody can work on a solution within that, and everybody come out of there happy. Now, you might not be totally happy, but you'll be happy because you gained something, the momentum of trying to make things work to make it out, because one organization just can't do it. So it's going to take a group and a collateral of people to do it. So I'm not saying that, you know, a lot of people want the city to do this and do that. And I'm not saying that they won't. I'm sure they will. You know, I'm sure that, you know, they're just not effortless trying not to do anything. I'm Mr. Gunsmore. I'm sure it's true he want to get paid because he got that property. But at the same time, I know he's a reasonable man that will bend somewhat to accommodate certain things too. But I just think if all the heads, if everyone get together and you discuss this and then just come out with a solution for everyone. Once you come out with that solution, then you know where you have to go from there to make those other ends meet. But at least it will put everybody on an equal playing field of getting things done. And that's just my opinion.
Reva, I love your comments, and you're right. If you can get everybody together in one room at the same time, then maybe it'll help us get where we need to be a little quicker than meeting individually. Now, Leroy's had a lot more experience in this area with property owners and people who are in business, whether or not they want to discuss their business in front of other business people, I don't know. But if we were to have such a meeting, in my mind, the perfect person to call that meeting together is the mayor. And in my mind, the perfect place to have that meeting is the mayor's conference room. Now, that's just the way I look at things. That might not ever happen, but that's what I would like to see happen.
Well, Fred, I'm not going to.
Leroy?
I'm going to say this, Fred. I don't think the mayor is the perfect person to call that meeting. I think that meeting should come from us as a board, as a head. And when you say writing a letter, I don't think it should come from us. That's what I'm saying. That meeting should come from us. But as representation, with Mr. Moore being in that meeting, since Housing Authority has that property, the property itself has those bodies on there. So he should be there. But I think the meeting should come addressed for us to have everyone in there. And with representation from Mr. Moore, the other property owners, and the mayor themselves. But as for the mayor calling it, no. Because she's just one entity in it, and we are seeking something from everyone to make sure this happens. So if we're seeking it, and this board's seeking it, then it should come from the board itself as doing that.
Okay, how do the other board members feel about a meeting?
I agree with what Ms. Emmons said, because yeah, I agree with that. Now, just to sit back and digest what she just said, it makes a whole lot of sense. That we should, as a board, request a meeting with all three entities, and we're there, and just lay it out on the table. I mean, you can draft a letter to the other three entities and ask, you know, what would be a good day and time to meet. And then the only thing, we would just need a location to meet. The location where we could meet.
Probably have to be on Zoom right now. It'd probably have to be on Zoom, I would think. I don't know. Things are loosening up a little bit. You want to try to have a meeting in person?
I don't have a problem with meeting in person. And I don't mind saying I'm vaccinated. I got the 2 shots, so I don't have a problem.
Okay. Are we in favor of what's being suggested, which is to find out when we can get the 3 property owners in the same room at the same time? Are there attorneys? Are there representatives? And then invite them in writing with a letter to this meeting and state the purpose, which I think they know the purpose. Try to come together and put our heads together and find out how we can resolve this problem. Because, my God, the Housing Authority cannot resolve it by itself.
I want to make a suggestion, if it's okay with you all. I suggest that we write the letter for the meeting, but I don't suggest the whole board be there. I suggest if this meeting is taking place with all the individuals that's involved, even though we're a board, I suggest Mr. Moore be that representation, since he is the secretary of the board as well, but he also is very invested because of the property that the Housing Authority have them. I suggest that I would suggest personally, it would be Mr. Moore, who all involved, and the attorneys in that meeting, because I don't think they're going to come in that meeting without the attorneys. But the thing about it, the meeting really is, to me, is my personal, is to put everything on the table and let everyone know what position they stand, and try to come out of that position they stand and see can they bend a little bit to make everything reasonable for everyone. And I think when you have 4 people from the board and their lawyers and everything like that in there, sometimes people get a little kind of, I don't want to get into too much details, but when you have one representation with the lawyers in there all together, I think the meeting of the minds will be much better. So when I say that, you can have Mr. Moore, attorney for Housing Authority, Gosmar, his attorney, you know what I'm saying? The other owner, his attorney, the mayor and the city attorney. So that way everybody can sit down and discuss the issues and concerns that everyone is having and see how can they come up to a remedy of that. And I think it would be better just to have those individuals in that meeting. But we can address to have that meeting as a board, but the representation will only be Mr. Moore and the owners of that and the attorneys in that meeting. Now, as Mr. Moore is on the board and as the property, Champ House here, he can come back and relate to us what came out of that meeting. But I think just to have a whole gratitude of people just sitting in there sometimes can be kind of iffy, when they can sit down and talk the minds of what needs to be done and how it needs to be done, and broken down to what can we do, or what can we do and what can we do? How will you suggest that we do this? Is there other ways around this? And I think as business-minded as these individuals are, I'm sure coming out of that meeting, they'll come up with something happy or somewhat happy out of that meeting.
I would like to just render a small rebuttal to that. I think they know Mr. Moore and the executive board of the upper echelon of the Housing Authority. This is not something that's brand new to anybody in this city. Since it has been revealed about Zion, we know who the players are. The attorneys, everybody shake hand and walk away nice, and you're still at the first base. You haven't moved. And sometimes people need to know, even on the other side of the aisle, the impact that it is having on marginalized community, and they also need to see the face of people that represent that community. I mean, this here, we gonna hold hands and, nothing against prayer, Reverend, but we done that. And we still haven't moved the ball. So I think everybody know how to handle themselves professionally. I have never been to a meeting where a business owner is negotiating for anybody that he's less than 3 attorneys. Because he planned on making sure that he get everything that he feel he's entitled to do. And at this point in criticalness, trying to move the ball forward, people need to see that the Zion board is serious about coming to a resolution. Everybody know what the issues are. I bet you if we had a $5 million to slice off to all of the property owners, you know what they'll do? Excuse me, people, they'll pack their stuff overnight and they'll be gone. We don't have that kind of money. And so people need to know the urgency of this community, looking at them from the standpoint that if they can do the right thing, do it immediately. And if they need some assistance in helping them to negotiate the banks, the title company, or whomever, we are there as a board to help them with those remedies, because we cannot afford to wait 4 years kicking the same issue down the road until people is 100% compensated. That's the whole thing that's holding everybody up. Everybody want their money. And unless you got a check to give it to them, kissing them, hugging them, shaking their hands, ain't gonna resolve this issue. So yes, I would disagree that Mr. Moore by himself and his attorney, no. The board comes along with them understanding that ain't nobody neck gonna get cut, but we serious about trying to get this matter resolved in behalf of our community.
So, let me ask you, what do you suggest that, you suggesting that the whole board go? Do you suggest, I understand you said nobody necks get cut or anything like that. And it's not really shaking hands or whatever, because I do believe that when people sit around a round table, they can come to some type of agreement as a whole. But I understand you saying that everybody knows what's going on. So what do you suggest that's gonna move this forward? Because I don't see this moving too much forward until people agree to certain things or come to some type of remedy. So what are your suggestions that happen to make this move forward? Because you can't go there and put yourself in chains on the door and say the city's going to do that, because you're not going to get anything. You can't, just go out there. I mean, I just feel like something gonna come out of this. Might not be what we want, but something come out of this better by sitting and talking with them. But as you saying, if you want the board to go, then I'm for that too, because that's just my opinion. I was speaking, but I know there's fully grown peoples, and they're going to come with their attorneys. That's why I mentioned attorneys, because they're going to make sure they cover whatever was said. But what is your suggestion that you think that you can make this move along and everyone gets what they want? Because if it ain't happened now, what more can we do?
Of course, I haven't been to the meeting. Of course, I'm not in those upper discussions that Mr. Moore and other people of privilege has been to. But I think you need to come to the table, and this is my suggestion, with some serious terms and conditions.
Okay.
Don't nothing move without some type of people being pushed to make them do some uncomfortable situations. And like I said, ain't nobody asking them to give the property away. But with the city, if they're the invitees there as well, people understand the urgency of the hour. The urgency of the hour for the city right now is that we got a location that has been determined that dead Black bodies are still there. City, business owners, and housing authority. And these are the terms and conditions in the timetable in which we want this matter resolved.
So I suggest this is just my suggestion. If the meeting was to take place, I would ask the board to let either Yvette or either Connie go to that meeting as well.
Well, my suggestion was, I don't think all of us need to go, but I do think those who hold positions on this board, being the president, the vice president, and the treasurer or secretary, I believe they should represent the entire board. And then I do believe that they should be able to come back not a week later, but immediately and report to, and there's a board meeting that it's a call meeting we have to report the outcome. That's just me. That's how I operate here at the church, and also with the program that I'm the program director of. But I don't think, because again, like you said, Ms. Iman, that too many people, and I know you were trying to say it nicely and politely, but when you have too many people in any type of meeting, you have a whole bunch of opinions and this and that, and nothing really is done or said at the end of the meeting. You all come out with what you went in, which was nothing. And so sometimes you have to have a small group of people into the meeting. And yeah, they may bring their attorneys and all that stuff. But if you have at least 4 board members represented and officers, then you can get something out of it. And then we hold a meeting, another meeting, and we go from there. That's just me. Sometimes too many makes an intimidation. And I say that because I've seen it where people will shut down and you get nothing out of it. And I saw that even when we had the service at my church, when we first started, we had the service at my church. A lot of people didn't show up because they didn't want any confrontation. They didn't want this, they didn't want that. And I respect that. So I think moving into doing this, we just need to go, honestly, I don't think the entire board needs to be there. Because we have, 10, 12 people, something like that, Mr. Moore? So I don't think the whole entire board.
Yeah, we have 9. Well, we have 7 active.
Voted in 7
I'm sorry,
active,
Reverend
but I
Presley.
do
Yeah, we have
think
7
those
active.
those who we have voted in as officers, they really should be at that table. And that's me, and I'm done with saying that. I'm done with that part.
Well, these are all great comments. And I think at the end of the day, before this meeting adjourns, we're going to agree to move forward. I think the letter and the meeting sound like what we want. We just need to work out who we think should be at the meeting. But let me say, none of us would be where we are today with Zion had it not been for the press, the media.
Yeah.
As we all know, if the Tampa Bay Times had not been running story after story after story, none of us would be here today in this meeting. So I have a question, Leroy, maybe you can help. If only the property owners, well, of course, a housing authority is a government agency, would the press have to be there, have the right to be there, if only you and the other 2 property owners met?
Oh, no, there's no. It's not considered a public meeting. It wouldn't be considered a public meeting. No.
Okay, what would make it a public meeting and give the press the right to be there? Because folk aren't going to open up and say what they really want to say if they know the press is there.
Yeah, but I think we're trying to get people to the table, not send them deeper into their shells, right? So I don't think that's the way to go at all. I think an idea of a meeting is a good meeting, is a good idea, but I do think the voices of concerned citizens in the community is important, as opposed to just the institutions. The housing authority is an institution at the end of the day. We're a public institution at the end of the day. So, I certainly, agree with the comment about, it need not just be with Tampa Housing Authority. But again, I think both owners, the city, they have been actively inquiring about, what can be done, what needs to be done. We need the movement on the owner's part to start, coming to the reality that it's been 2 years. Mm-hmm. How do you, from the day we knew that there was bodies underneath 32 people living, that was an absolute urgency. You know how scarce it is, how scarcity affordable housing is in this community. For us to make that immediate decision, we didn't ask HUD. We just made that decision. We got to move these 32 families. Tomorrow we'll work out notifying HUD, figuring out the impact to our budget, what we're going to do with the buildings, all of that kind of stuff. But there was an urgency. And I just think that urgency, that we're a public body, but our money is just as hard earned as private money. Okay? We are losing rent on 32 units. We're losing subsidy on 32 units, and 32 units is no longer available to this broader community for affordable housing. That is a big hurt. And that's not even counting all the other expenses that our board and Jerome has graciously been spending, right? That's money that could be going to affordable housing, but we're trying to address a real crucial, urgent problem. We had to find out, and then we had to react to it. And I just think other people have that same kind of obligation, that same kind of urgency of obligation. And it's been 2 years. So at some point, you know, stop waiting for me to bring you the answer and start coming up with some solutions yourself. So I just think that point is best made by people like all of y'all, not the Tampa Housing Authority. We've made that decision. So that's my thoughts on it.
Okay, we've been discussing this for quite some time. I'm ready to entertain a motion as it relates to a letter. We've discussed a letter, and we've discussed a meeting of the property owners. Is there a motion?
Reverend Presley, make a motion that we go ahead with the writing of the letter for the meeting of the minds, and everything else that we've discussed, so that we can move forward in doing what we're supposed to do for Zion.
I second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we write a letter. I like the way you phrased that, Reverend Presley. We're looking for a meeting of the minds. That's the spirit of what the letter will be. And we will do our due diligence to find a date and a time and a location that best suits the 3 property owners and the city of Tampa, right? We're inviting the mayor to a meeting. So it's been moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so it's unanimous. So I will draft a letter. I will get it to Leroy to wordsmith. Hopefully we can get Amrita maybe to help us find a date when all of the property owners can be represented at the same place at the same time, and sooner better than later. And in the meanwhile, we can figure out who should be there. Maybe that should be a separate motion, because I've heard just Leroy, and then I've heard, no, there should be members of this board there in addition to Mr. Moore. So I'd like to entertain that in a separate motion. We've already decided we're going to do the letter and have the meeting. Now, who on this board should attend? Do I hear a motion with regards to that?
Well, I would make a motion that the officers of the board be the ones to attend this meeting. That's just, I'll put that out there.
Okay, there's been a motion that the officers attend that meeting. That's myself, Mr. Moore, and Ms. Hyman. Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion?
I second it.
Okay. Okay, it's been second. Any discussion before we
So-
vote?
I want to be clear. So you're saying that at this meeting, only Leroy, Remus, and yourself, Fred Hearns, would be the representative that could attend that meeting? That would be invitees, representative for that meeting?
That's the motion that I'm making,
Okay, well,
because
all
and
right,
the
I hear
reason,
you. I hear you, brother. I think what Leroy just said, that as the housing authority is a governmental entity, what I'm hearing is that it needs to have more push than just the face of the housing authority. So I would be opposed to that if that's the attendees only to be at that meeting. I would be opposed to that.
Well, I'm gonna ask that either Connie or Yvette, one or the other, also attend.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so,
So that's an
okay,
amended
so that's
motion.
a substitute
but-
motion.
yeah, that's an amended motion.
I
Amended
need to
motion.
ask Reverend Presley if he will accept, hold on. I need to ask Reverend Presley if he will accept that amendment to his motion. That either Connie or Yvette Lewis attend in addition to the officers.
I can accept it, as long as when we go into this meeting, we go to think positive. And there's, to me, there should be no confrontation, because what happens is this: when there is somewhat of a confrontation, people shut down, and you get nothing out of it. So if that's the case, then that's fine. I have no problem with that. I guess I looked at Miss Iman as being one of the people who lived in the community, so she could also be the voice for the community. That's how I was looking at, even when it came to the officer side. And I understand, brother. Mr. And I say brother because I'm used to that piece. Mr. Moore being part of the housing, but I don't think he's going into this meeting representing housing, unless I missed that. Unless I totally missed that part. I thought he was coming in as representing as a board member of Zion, not as housing, but I'll accept that. I don't have a problem. I just want to make sure. We've been doing this too long now, and I'm really ready to just move forward.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I second the motion. So he's accepted the amended motion.
Could I just
Okay.
add?
Any
This-
other discussion?
Yes, sir. I would just, for the record, remind the brother that I too is a former 20-year veteran of Robles Park. And I also would like to encourage, well, he should know this.
I'm a pastor,
That-
so
That's
pastor.
right. And Jesus was a wonderful revolutionary. And I have
I know all
appreciated,
about
and
him.
I have appreciated all of his excellent teachings, even in his mildest tone. And when he had to raise his voice, he got things done. Thank you so much.
Okay. Motion
Okay,
second.
so the maker of the motion accepted the amendment, the friendly amendment. We've had discussion. We're ready for a vote now on the amended motion, which is that either Yvette Lewis or Connie Burton also attend that meeting. All those in favor of this motion, let it be known by the sign of aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Okay, so that motion passes. So when it's set, either Connie or Yvette will be in attendance in addition to Leroy Moore, myself, and Reva. We will be representing this board. Leroy represents the board and the Tampa Housing Authority because they're the major property owner. Okay, I appreciate that. That was a lot of time, but it was worth it. Mr. Moore, if we can kind of quickly go through the rest of the agenda, the
Sure.
master plan.
Yeah, and we had planned for a final review of the master plan, and I will do this in like 2 minutes, guys, just, being considerate of everybody's time. We have also previously reviewed a draft of the master plan, but I just wanted to let you all know that the master plan is in final form at this point, in final draft form, let me say at this point. And later this month on the 29th at 2 p.m., the Housing Authority will be hosting a community event. I'm just sort of thumbing through some of the pages of the master plan, just sort of showing the discovery phase, the amount of research that was done. We've had a number of steering committee meetings, focus groups, community workshops. You know, the website has been up and is a very dynamic website. So if you haven't visited the website, it's newroblespark.com, newroblespark.com. You know, a lot of focus on Zion as well, but this master plan is of the overall Robles Park Village community, showing a new vision of what it could be. As you know, we got 433 units there now. We are proposing to come back with a little over 1,000 total units. Some of those will be ownership. So, you know, we'll have, I think, 77 townhome ownership, and the rest of them over 900 units of rental housing. So we're more than doubling the number of affordable of housing, and almost doubling the number of affordable housing in particular. Zion Cemetery, as you know, is in this upper corner here. There's 3 visions for a master plan for the Zion Park, and we will get everybody a full copy of this after it's released on the 29th, so that you've got a copy of this for your own sake. But these are just some of the visions. We haven't actually designed the buildings yet, so these are just sort of placeholders. It's just gray boxes that, you know, represent a footprint for a building. Total number of units, as you can see, the number of affordable units versus the number of market rate units. All total, we've got 75 market rate units, all the rest of them, and 77 market rate and affordable mix for sale units, and then all the rest of the units are affordable renters. We've got proposals for, you know, grocer. We've got proposals for this hub that would be a major community service center right in the middle of the community. And then from the Zion standpoint, we've got, you know, we talk about the research on Zion, the discovery of Zion, as well as present these 3 images of what Zion could look like. Representations showing if we just simply removed everything, what that vacant land, you know, as just green space would look like. And then you see the white building there and the little driveway circular. That is actually on the clean piece of land that we hope to be able to acquire from Dennis Crease. So he owns a clean piece, and then just behind that, to the right of that white box building, is the smaller piece of the cemetery that he owns now. And then to the south of that is the Gunsmark property, and then most of that to the right, the bigger field, is Housing Authority owned land. But we can go from everything to just removing everything and just having all green land to represent the cemetery, to leaving the ghost of the footings of the buildings that disturbed the cemetery, so that we tell the story about what was done here and not, you know, cover it up, not move past it. But I think there's a certain amount of importance in, you know, retaining the history of, you know, the atrocity that happened, that this land cemetery was built upon. And, you know, these are just sort of some image, some shadow of what, you know, was removed to restore it to a cemetery. All the way to the most evasive development plan would be introducing a water element into the site. That water always represent life, you know, bringing new life to the cemetery. We don't know which way we're going to go yet. Of course, that's going to be a big community process specific to Zion when we get to designing it. But we've represented that, you know, these are 3 options of what could happen with the Zion Cemetery. So that's sort of a brief run through of that master plan. We're going to put it on the website on the 29th. We will get you guys copies of it on the 29th. And then agenda item number 4, I've sort of just covered as well, which is just making the board aware that we're having this big community celebration on June 29th from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. The mayor is scheduled to actually be there at the very front of the meeting, just sort of kicking off this celebration. We'll have tables set up. We'll have big maps of the designs, and to start letting the community know what the final plan is. And then probably in a month or two after that, we hope to start having relocation meetings on site with our families, starting to get their desires in terms of relocation and start planning the relocation. So we are in 2022 before any real relocation could possibly start. We don't know yet if we're going to do relocation in one big phase like we always have done, or if we'll do it in multiple phases. That's going to be a decision we'll make in consultation with the residents when we start meeting with them. Okay. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moore.
Hey,
Thank
Leroy,
you
I
for
wanted to
being
ask,
brief. That was a lot of information.
Yeah, I'm sorry I
Go
went
ahead,
so
Connie.
quick, but I know it's kind
can
of
I
late.
ask Leroy a question, and maybe you know this or not? I know right now the housing market is very, very tight.
Mhm.
And so how are you all at the Housing Authority keeping an eye on, say, availability? And I say that with all due respect. I know people is sometimes extremely thrilled to get a Section 8 voucher and might find it unusable within the city limits. So how are you all keeping an eye on that market, please?
Yeah, through a number of ways, and you're right, the market is as tight as it's probably been in 20 years or so now in terms of, finding, especially finding affordable housing, but overall the rental market is tight. But what we do from a relocation standpoint, we are able to create relocation resources by freezing our vacancies. So that's always been a process that we will go through by we'll have about 800 units turnover a year on average. People moving out, people passing on, people getting evicted over our whole portfolio. So we freeze new leasings, and when we're undergoing relocation, we first make those units available to anybody that's got to relocate. If they don't want it, we give them 3 or 4 days to choose. Then we pull from our wait list and move a new resident in there if our relocating family don't choose. So first of all, they get first choice at any units that come up in our inventory. Secondly, we're building a lot of new units, okay? We're building more units per year right now than we ever have in the history of this housing authority. As you all know, we've got 1,011 units either completed, under construction, or about to start in West Tampa already. We got a couple of partnerships we're negotiating right now on other development opportunities. On the Section 8 side, it's taking our families, some of them could take 4 or 5 months with a Section 8 voucher to find a unit. Some of them will lease up in 30 days. It just depends on, the resident's credit, the resident's, rental history, that kind of thing. So it all depends. What we have going in our favor is time, because we've always spread our relocation over the amount of time that it needs to take. It took us 1.5 years to relocate the families at North Boulevard Homes, 820 units. Took us 1.5 years. Central Park Village, it took us a full year. We think it's going to take a full year, if not a little bit more, at Robles Park. So if it takes us 1.5 years to get everybody relocated and absorbed, that's what it takes. So, we don't have a 6-month or a 9-month, window to meet. Our relocation happens first, and it dictates the rest of the schedule. So at the end of the day, we plan around it. It becomes not an obstacle because we have the ability to plan around it. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Leroy. Any other comments or observations? We have one more agenda item. The State Task Force press conference was held this morning. And I'll just make a couple of brief comments, and then I'm sure Leroy and Reva was there, and I don't know if anyone else was there on this call, but of course, Senator Janet Cruz presided. She championed the bill in the Senate, along with Senator Darrell Roussan. He was not there, but his aide was there this morning. Ella Coffey spoke to her. And then, of course, Representative Fentress Driscoll was also there and spoke about her successful efforts to get it through the House of Representatives. Representative Diane Hart was also there. And of course, the mayor spoke, along with Ray Reid, the man whose research started all this. Ray was there. I was a little surprised to see Ray because he doesn't come out in public that much, but he was there, and I thought his comments were right on time. Of course, Yvette Lewis, representing the NAACP, was also on stage and made some comments. The takeaways from that are, number one, as we know, we are getting $50,000 from the state toward our Zion project, in addition to $50,000 from the city of Tampa and the same amount from Hillsborough County. But the most important announcement from a broader perspective is this state task force, which is going to start meeting like immediately, like next month. They're going to identify the members, and they'll be meeting in August to identify this astounding number of perhaps as many as 3,000 other forgotten African-American cemeteries just in the state of Florida. That's amazing when you think about that. But Leroy, your comments, I'll hush up now. Your observations from this morning.
Yeah, I mean, observation, I mean, you know, incredible amount of attention. I mean, you know, we had every press in the market there. And incredible representation from all of our elected officials, the mayor, all of our state elected officials pretty much was there, with the only exception, like you said, Darrell Roussan, but Ella was there in his presence. And so, you know, the good thing for me is the amount of attention that is on Zion, and I think it's rightly on Zion. Zion was the first, you know, cemetery that was discovered and, you know, and put out there. And I think, you know, us coming together, both first as the advisory committee and now as the preservation committee, you know, with the kind of representation that we have, I think we are the, you know, the model. We're the first, but I think we also a good model for other communities, and they're all going to go through, you know, this shocking discovery as this, hopefully they will, if this committee does, you know, the right, you know, does some good, right? You know, as Janet Cruz mentioned, there's some 3,000 suspected. I mean, if you've got 10% of that, no, if you got 1% of that, you know, that's a lot of, you know, people who own property, who are probably doing business on top of that property, oblivious of the fact that they're desecrating some, you know, some families and some individuals' peaceful rest, which is, you know, real shocking thing to discover, and how are they going to deal with it, right? And it just sort of appealed to me today, and, you know, in making the point that I just made also earlier on this call, you know, it's been 2 years. You know, the shock should have worn off now. You need to be getting about, you know, coming up with your plan for, you know, not doing, you know, I mean, we've got, you know, trashed vehicles and repossessed vehicles and towed vehicles sitting on top of, you know, our coffins of, you know, our families. We've got restaurant business, you know, whatever, storage, that kind of business. And I don't know what some of the other owners throughout the state are going to find themselves in, but they need to be prepared for it, and they need to be prepared to do it right. And I think the cities and counties need to get ready to start working with these when these situations are discovered. But I think we have done it the right way. I think we've created a good map for a lot of people. And we got to continue to be, on point and inclusive, and always about doing it the right way. You know, I think we're in a good position right now because, you know, we're down the road, right? And we've made those sacrifices, the right ones. But we still have land to, you know, free up. But, you know, but it was a great turnout. I was really pleased to see the amount of media attention and see how important it is to all of our elected officials to be there. Now, let's move to the next step, which is to bring real resources to bear on finishing this project, all right?
Yeah, you should see something from today's press conference on the evening news on just about any TV station you can imagine.
Yeah.
Reva, you have any comments or anyone else before we adjourn
No, I don't.
on the press conference?
I just thought it was, I'm just grateful. That's what I just said. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that it was at Robles. You know, it could have been somewhere else. I'm grateful that they took the initiative to recognize those individuals that lie there. So, you know, it shows me something. And I don't want it to be just a photo op, you know. So they could have chose many different other places, I think, but, you know, I think they chose Robles for a reason. And I think they do care about what happened to those individuals that lie there up under that ground. So my hat's off to all of them, all the representatives that fought for this and got it. All the people have put the effort in thus far to make this happen. All the people who are moving forward is going to put the effort in to make it even something better in our community, because what I've learned is I've met some great people, a lot of personalities, but I know everybody is fighting for the same cause no matter what. I know that Tampa is a leading cause. Tampa is a site that everyone looks at. Tampa is a place everyone wants to be. Tampa is growing every day. Many people are moving in. Tampa is, to me, the new place for everyone want to be, our vacation and see. So with that being said, I know that something great is going to happen, because we have not letting the city, the community, the tourists, we open the doors for everybody. You know, Super Bowl, you know, hockey, even this grave site that went worldwide. So people are looking. People are waiting to see the outcome of it. And I do believe that the outcome of this is going to be something pleasing for the world to see as well. So I have great, how can I say it? I have the pleasure of looking at something that's going to happen here that is going to be worldwide renowned to all African Americans and anybody that wants to come into this community. And so I had the opportunity to go to Robles and Zion and see what happened and just make it something very treasurable, rewarding, something they can tell their kids and their kids can tell their kids. I do believe that it's going to happen no matter what the obstacles are. Things are going to be definitely a showcase for Tampa. And it's not a showcase for the dead, but it is a recognition and respect for the dead that people will come and see. And that's all I have to say.
Hey, I would just like to thank you, Leroy, and of course, Mr. Ryans, the board, for your leadership around this issue. It could have been easily looked away, tucked away, ran away from, but it has really been the leadership of the Housing Authority to put all of this on the map and not be afraid to even stand with applied pressure to make sure that a day of reckoning occur, and that the memory of our people is done with the most dignified, respectful way. So I definitely support the decisions that you have made around this effort. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burton. Appreciate that.
Okay, and with that, is there any other business before the board at this time?
No, just a final reminder on the 29th. I'll have Amrita send everybody out a reminder as well for the event on the 29th between 2 and 4.
Okay, thank you, Leroy. And don't forget, we're going to put an email address on our board application for new members, and the deadline will be July 8th. As soon as I put something together, I'm gonna try to get something to you no later than Monday, Leroy, maybe tomorrow. Press release that you can wordsmith, and then
Okay,
we can
great.
get, so we'll all be saying the same thing with that press release.
Sounds good.
Saying if anyone is aware of any ancestors, anyone who has any of their ancestors buried in Zion, and you would like to serve on our board, then contact me or Leroy Moore. I mean, we'll get that done by Monday.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you for your patience. It's a little after 6 o'clock. Is there a motion for adjournment?
A motion adjournment.
I
Is
second
there a
that.
second?
I second.
Discussion. Okay, hearing none, motion passes. Thank you all for attending this meeting, and we will see you soon.
Awesome. Take care now.
Bye-bye.